Sacramento is already the hottest destination in California. And with this latest project that's going on right now in Sacramento, guys, we're stepping it up to a whole nother level. So in this video, if you're someone who's thinking about moving to Sacramento, if you're someone who's living in Sacramento, this is a huge project that's happening right now that's going to impact all of Sacramento. We're talking about connecting Elk Grove with Folsom, El Dorado Hills, and we're even going to talk about the possibilities of maybe even connecting in Roseville and Rockland in the 80s. This is a connector project, and we're going to dive into the details. We're joined by Derek Minnema, civil engineer and head of the connector project here in the Sacramento area. We're going to talk about what areas are going to be impacted. We're going to talk a little bit about how much quicker this is going to make your Bay Area commute. We're going to talk about increase in home prices in certain areas due to the expressway. We're going to talk about how far along the project is. We're going to talk about what it actually looks like and the bike lanes that are associated with it. And we're going to talk about if this is going to be a toll expressway. And if you stay at the end of the video, we're going to talk a little bit about when this project plans on being completed. Derek, let's start with the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about the project.
Yeah, so it's an expressway. It's a 34-mile long expressway that will connect El Dorado Hills and Folsom to Elk Grove. So it's along the southeast county of Sacramento, and it's going to be a 4-lane, high-speed, limited access expressway. We're going to take White Rock Road and Grant Line Road, and then eventually Camera Road down in Elk Grove, and expand them to a 4-lane, high-speed expressway that will connect Highway 50, State Route 16, which people call Jackson Highway, to Highway 99 to Interstate 5. So that's what the Capital Southeast Connector is. And we're trying to build it as fast as we humanly can.
All right. So where was the genesis of this? Like what was this like, how did this start? Like how did the idea of this happen?
Oh my gosh. All right. So this is a history story, Mark. So this is 50 years ago. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. 1970s. Caltrans, the state's highway agency, would plan highways throughout the state. And Sacramento had like 3 highways that were planned to connect 80 to 50, to, connect South County to the East County, and even Highway 65, right, which is up there in the Roseville, Rockland area, was supposed to continue down towards Folsom and be the East Side Freeway. And in the 1970s, the pendulum swung, right? And highway construction kind of stopped. And the state essentially canceled those projects. And that was back when Jerry Brown was governor the first time, right? We call him Jerry Brown version 1.0. So the genesis, the origin of the Capital Southeast Connector is the 1970s. And so one of the things that I say is that you can cancel projects, but you can't cancel the need, right? And so what happens when the state canceled those major highways, the county and the cities were like, well, we need this connection, we need this mobility. And it wasn't until, late 80s, 90s, we started doing studies about it. And then finally in 2004, so I mean, that's a long time. In 2004, a tax measure was put on the Sacramento County ballot. That's called Measure A, and voters approved it. And that's really what started the project, was back in the mid 2000s. But its origins are in the 1970s.
That's nuts. I mean, okay, here's the thing. It's so funny. I did a video about the projects a while ago, and people were like, it's not going to make a difference. It's kind of already there and everything too. And I'm looking at this, I'm looking at all the new home building, right, that's happening throughout Sacramento. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, Houston, we got a problem. I look at East Bidwell, and I look at people like, like the bottleneck that's there. I look at Elk Grove. I look at all these spots, and I say to myself, Sacramento itself, the metro area is designed bad, right? It's horribly designed. Normally you have big like metro areas where you have a big freeway around the whole thing and people can access it. Our arteries are busting at the seams, like Sierra Boulevard, or Hazel, what's called Bradshaw, Sunrise, and everything too. And so I see this connector as something that not only would be useful like right this second, but when you see an additional 100,000 homes being built in the Sacramento area, this is going to be vital to our basic infrastructure of Sacramento, don't you think?
Oh, completely agree. And most people agree with you as well. I think 99% of people agree with you. So, I mean, growth is coming. I love that you use the term arteries because, the economy is like a human body in some ways, right? Like we have broadband and internet, but that's like our nervous system and telephones. You know, arteries are our circulation system, right? It's what moves things around. And, cars are like red blood cells. Right. So I mean, that is true. And so congestion is not good. And you need to be able to freely move. People need to get to their jobs and employers need to be able to attract high quality employees from a broad, geographic area. And so the beltways that you're referring to that every major city has practically, I mean, they're everywhere. We don't have them, and that's because of the cancellation of those projects in the 1970s. And one of the questions I get often is, when is the project gonna connect to I-80? And the answer is never. It's never gonna do that anymore. I think that ship has sailed. We are connecting the South County with, like, a partial beltway, but there's never gonna be anything that goes up that 80 to 50 connection. It's not gonna happen. So you're gonna be on Hazel Avenue for the rest of your life. Your grandkids are gonna be on Hazel and Sunrise forever, my friend.
So, okay, so as far as this goes, as far as I remember the mapping as well too, there's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, correct?
Okay, so great question. So, like, yeah, I would love to build this whole thing at once and like start at one end and go to the other. It's not really how that works in our industry because we get like chunks of money and the federal government will give us, 20, $30 million, but because we're not a state highway, we don't get those $100 million chunks of change. And so I always kind of feel like I'm doing these little, short passes, it's hard to do big, 10-mile chunks. Now, that said, what have we done? Okay, so we have built two highway interchanges. So we built one on Highway 50 at Silver Valley Parkway. All right, that's that eastern terminus next to that Mercedes dealership up there in the town center. Brand new interchange, just opened it in 2000, I want to say 19, 17, something like that. We have a brand new interchange down at 99 at Grant Line Road. And this is where the Sky River Casino is. Right. So big, big interchange there. It's got a lot of capacity. We've built railroad overcrossings down in Elk Grove. So that's where the road goes up and over the railroad tracks. And so cars don't have to sit there for the ding, 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 ding. You know what I mean? Right.
Okay.
So that's been an improvement. And then we've done about, I want to say it's 11 total miles of improvements. And now the whole project's 34 miles. So you can call it about a third of the way done. But one of the things to understand is that these interchanges are actually big, expensive projects. And even though they don't build a lot of roadway, they're one of the key nodes and connections to the highways. And so, in terms of dollars, maybe we're 40% of the way. All right, something like that. Um, Overall, we're doing more work today than we've ever done before. And so the work that we have underway right now is 9 miles of expressway. Right. So it's going to
Okay.
take us a few years to get that ready for construction. But I mean, when that's done, you'll have 20 out of the 34 miles, So we're doing a lot of work right now. We're busier than we've ever been. There's a lot of infrastructure bucks out there. We've got our permits. We have our environmental approvals. What we're really doing is buying a lot of real estate. And that's a whole different beast on the government side, especially when it comes to, everyone's favorite topic of eminent domain and things like that. So different. I could talk a lot about all
No, 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 continue. This
stuff.
this this is great. I mean, I'd love to get backstory and background on all this stuff too. As far as the buying of land, I mean, is that one of those things where you're like how does that whole thing kind of break down? I mean, have you been running into hurdles with that a lot?
Uh, you know, there's not a lot of hurdle. It's something I've done a lot my entire career. All projects require right of way in some form or fashion. So that's what we call it in our industry. We are purchasing land rights for a road. and that is what's called right of way. We also purchase public utility easements to accommodate, SMUD or PG&E, AT&T, things like that. And when the government goes and purchases land from private owners, it is very spelled out. I mean, there has been a lot of court cases. There's a lot of law here. It's not the 1800s, so there's been a lot of call it judicial case study and laws on this stuff. So essentially, we hire appraisers to establish a fair market value. Private owners have the option for their own independent appraisal. And then we enter into a negotiation, and that negotiation is done behind closed doors. So there's confidentiality, there's privacy, but ultimately, it is your elected representatives, your county supervisors and your city council members who approve that final purchase, right? And so it's not, staff, right? We make a recommendation, but there is some accountability, right? And so we don't want to, we're going to be fair and establish fair market value with appraisals, but we can't be paying over the top numbers or amounts because then it's a waste of taxpayer money, right? So,
Right.
whereas, there's a balance and there's a range of how we're going to negotiate. We always want to avoid eminent domain. And for the most part, we've been very successful at avoiding it because, we want that handshake, right? We live here. We have family here. We're not trying to do anything crazy. But if a negotiation really just doesn't advance or it's stalling and, we have schedules and very real schedules that we'll lose money if we don't hit them. And we need to take a process of eminent domain. Well, that's a whole nother path of legal maneuvers. But, for the most part, we want to avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing for you guys. You guys are dealing with a lot of farmland. It's a lot like it's very rural out there and everything too. I noticed back in the day because I sold this one property that was right on Hazel. And I talked to the owner and there he's like, I'm going to sell this because eventually they're going to keep building out Hazel with more lanes. They've already pushed my land back a little further. And that's like right in the heart of like residential. Like if you're on Hazel, I mean, that's like, they could widen that road as well too. Where you go, it's more like the farmland and kind of just rural kind of Sacramento. So for me, I would say that like, it's a lot less of, a problem, I guess you could say, as it like going through a residential community and saying, you had like a 15-foot driveway, but guess what? Now you got a 6-foot driveway, like
Yeah.
that wouldn't be fun at all.
You know, this is one of those rare situations where I do prefer to work with attorneys. I mean, honestly, to this point, right, is that when you have large landowners and they own literally 1,000 acres out there, um, it's so much easier to work through legal counsel on some of these things. But you're right. If you think about this project, which is 34 miles long, well, a road has two sides, right? So that's 68 miles of frontage. And so that's a lot of different property owners. I mean, we have done hundreds of real estate negotiations and, just there's so many parcels out there. So we go from what I would call like working ag land near the Sacramento River all the way up to the other side of the county, which is range land and ranch land. It's a different geology, right? You've got rock versus sandy soils. And so the types of land uses are very different. So up in the foothills or lower foothills of El Dorado Hills and Folsom, a lot of fractured rock. You've got a lot of mining interests in that area, right? You have big landowners south of 50 that our project is being incorporated into the backbone of that entire development, right? And you're talking miles of development that we get integrated into. And so there's sinking things like drainage, sinking things like utilities and SMUD and PG&E and gas. You want all this stuff to work. But for the most part, when we're dealing with those developers, it's very different than dealing with the individual property owner that may be down in the Sheldon community or Elk Grove, and you're like, hey, you've got a 1 acre lot. You don't have a lawyer. We're trimming off, this sliver in front of you. We're going to put in a new gate. That's a lot of staff time. It's what we're paid to do, is to solve those problems. Generally, when I've got the really large plots of land on ranches and things like that, and working ag, you've got some of these vineyards along Grant Line. They got like 6,000 acres, right? They've got a whole business. They've got legal counsel. They've got people that it's actually, it can streamline some of the negotiations. Does that make sense?
At the end of the day, you want to make sure everyone's happy. We're a community. We're trying to build something that's completely going to help us get around. Because, like I said, everyone's thinking right now, oh, it's going to add such value to our area. And also the other thing too is to hit on this one is like jobs. I mean, how many jobs is the connector project bringing into the Sacramento area? I mean, you guys have got to be employing a whole heck of a lot of people, correct?
Yeah, I don't know any kind of direct number. We have a lot of contracts. Most of the stuff we do, it's all local, right? And so there's always construction jobs. I mean, that's what you need infrastructure. You could pay somebody to dig a hole, right? But that doesn't make any sense, right? Your construction jobs are for an asset, like you said, that is an improvement to the community, and it has a long-term value. Really, we think of an infrastructure asset as like a 50-year value, and the financial statements reflect that, right? Well, in my mind, I measure the wealth of an area in its infrastructure. And if you think about it, if you're at a location where they say, be careful drinking the water, you're probably not in a great location. You know, like, the gateways or the portals to our areas used to be, train stations, and people were coming across the transcontinental railroad. Today it's our airport, right? That's the gateway. It's our airport and our highways that bring people into a region. And so uh, it's I love that big red rabbit. It's such a unique moniker for the Sacramento region, but it's funny. The airport is the gateway. It's no longer the train station or the terminal. The jobs that infrastructure creates, whether it's an expressway like ours or raising Folsom Dam, these are all just capital assets into our region, and we employ local people, we employ local engineers, planners, environmental scientists, and yes, the contractors that are going to build it for sure. So um, it's
I mean, more
I'm a
jobs.
construction fan, so this is what I
Oh
do.
yeah. Well, I think we got to start putting this stuff in place, especially with everything that's being built in the Sacramento area. I mean, at least that's how I look at it. The other thing too is like in Elk Grove, they have the new train station. So the idea, like, for me, I always, people from the Bay Area are always moving into Sacramento. They're like, I'm going to live in El Dorado Hills. I'm going to be making the commute to the Bay Area. It's going to take me like, 1 day a week. I'm good with that. And I'm like, man, going from El Dorado Hills to even the Causeway, 40 minutes maybe or something, and then adding that on. I mean, like, I'm guessing this expressway for a lot of people, maybe taking the train from Elk Grove to the Bay, or even just driving to the Bay Area. That's going to be a whole lot, like, not only faster, but just a little bit more of streamlined process, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, expressway on purpose. We want you to drive fast, right? And there will be a class 1 bike trail. I don't think anyone's going to ride their bike to the Bay Area, but there will be a class 1 bike trail that is set off of the alignment, meaning, 25 feet off of the road, so that you're not sharing traffic with cyclists, right?
Yeah.
But I think you're making just an excellent point. Like, mobility is reliable, right? If you know that you can get to someplace on a reliable schedule, you're going to be more efficient with your time. Plus, we want people to be safe on these roads. One of the things about Grant Line, I mean, you got to understand the word Grant Line Road. Okay. So this is from the Spanish land grants. That's how long this stuff's been here, man. So, like, Rancho Americanos, Rancho Ochomunes and Casunas, right? These were Spanish land grants from the Mexican American War, 1800s. And so it's the boundary line between these Spanish land grants. That's how it gets the name Grant Line. And so it's been a regional route. That's my point. It's been a regional route for 100 years, it's been a dirt road. It's been a farm road that they've paved it. They've widened it to 2 lanes and paved it. Every generation of Sacramentans has taken this corridor and improved it to meet the needs of their time. We're doing the same thing. We're taking a 50-year-old farm road in some places, Grant Line, it's fallen apart, in some places. And we're going to upgrade it. And we're going to upgrade it to modern standards. And it's going to be a joy to drive on. You're going to be out there in your Porsche convertible, right? You know what I'm saying? So, I you should be driving on a safe, fast road with cyclists off to the side who want to have that recreational experience. And, we're taking something that in some locations has no shoulders, pavement is failing, massive car accidents, it's a hot spot for collisions. And not only just car collisions, but property damage and collisions. And we're going to modernize it. We're going to bring it to modern pavement, shoulders, all of drainage. This road floods in some places. And then in the summer, we've got wildfires and it burns down. Car accidents start grass fires. And all of a sudden, we've got a 1,000-acre grass fire out there, and in the winter, it's flooded and closed.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, whenever I'm driving down that road too, it's like there's a part of me that thinks just around the bend, I'm going to see a big cow sitting out there. I'm going to smack into the cow or the roads. I'm just kind of worried about how the roads are. And I'm just like, I don't feel completely comfortable driving there. I'm thinking
Yeah.
to myself, also, if something happens, like I'm in the middle of kind of nowhere at this point. Like I'm just, stuck there. And so
Right.
for me, no, I think what you guys are doing is great. And the other thing too, I've noticed in Sacramento is we're pocketed, right? So like Elk Grove, they stay in Elk Grove. Folsom, they stay in Folsom. Like all these areas, and a connector project is going to make it easier to traverse between locations as well too. I mean, you look at these powerhouses like Elk Grove with all the new homes, all the new things happening to Elk Grove, all the cool things, and Folsom too. And now there's going to be a way to get between these two where you could say, yeah, I'm going to go shopping in Elk Grove and it's not a bear. Because right now, I tell you this, if people in Folsom want to go to Elk Grove, they're taking a deep sigh going, "Hey, okay, we got to drive. How are we going to get there? Is the traffic? What
Mhm.
time are we leaving?" And all that stuff. And the same thing reverse. So I think this is going to be good to kind of close the gap on some of these future things happening to these amazing spots as well too. And then Rancho, we haven't even talked about Rancho, the development of Rancho, how this connector is going to basically, in my opinion, kind of put almost Rancho on the map. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Rancho has so many jobs, right? It is a job center. There is so much employment here, and they're growing their residential components of it. But people need to get in and out of Rancho, and they're looking at expansions with a new Rancho Cordova Parkway into the heart of their city. But you know, getting around town right now, that deep side, I have that deep side just to go downtown, right? I mean, just to go downtown. And so right now, if you want to go Elk Grove, Folsom, or Elk Grove, Rancho Cordova, you've got to go through that mess of Fix 50, right? And this thing, Mark, this thing has been under construction for 5 years. It's going to be six, right? I mean, Highway 50 is in perpetual construction. And it's way over budget, by the way. It's like $50 million for budget. But it's crazy because if you want to get into Rancho Cordova and you live in Elk Grove, you're navigating that and it's constantly changing the traffic, the temporary closures. They're taking that freeway, they're digging it up, right? Like it's like taking it down to studs, right? They're completely ripping up the pavement and it's been going on 5, 6 years. That's not resilient mobility or infrastructure, right? Like we need to have other ways for people to get around. Rancho Cordova, I mean, it's been growing like crazy. We've got a ton of new homes right along the connector that are already occupied. There's more being lotted and built and sold on a regular basis. They've done a great job of connecting some of their bike paths to ours in terms of its planning phase. But oftentimes we are hearing the statements about how do we get to Folsom from Rancho Cordova. Now, generally, cities don't like their people to go spend their money in other places. They want to collect their own taxes. But freedom of mobility is going to benefit us all. And to get from Rancho to Folsom, you're going across that like 90-degree turn, like with heavy trucks. And I'm not just talking, your pickup truck. We're talking trucks that are carrying aggregate and hard commodities. And like I said, there's a lot of mining operations out there. And so those are, um, call them contract truckers, employees. Often, they got time to keep. And so they're trying to get in, get out, move quick, and they're interfacing with passenger vehicles, right? And they're doing it on 11-foot wide lanes with no shoulders and power poles that's just away from the edge of the pavement, We can't have that. And so, yeah, we definitely hear a lot from Rancho Cordova about the urgency to improve this project. Not to mention, a little further south is Kiefer landfill, and there's a lot of trucking in and out of the landfill every day. Again, on 60-year-old roads. So, we don't think that we'll be 5 years of construction and $50 million over budget. I think we could do it a little bit better, but we are trying to do more to improve Grant Line Road in the near term. I think that we'll have a project out to construction in 2027 for Grant Line Road in Rancho Cordova.
I hope so. I mean, the 50 for me, I just assume it's always gonna be under construction. I don't know if it'll ever get done. I think it's gonna be perpetually on I'm so used to it right now. It's just like it's just yeah, no, it's just, it is what it is. And I think, like I said, like you mentioned, like Rancho is such an area that, especially the Anatolia type area where all the new homes are, you kind of feel a little bit like you know, you don't feel like connected to anything. You feel kind of like you're out there and you're like, okay, well, if we go to Folsom, we got to go these like little farmy roads, that go up and down. And you're kind of out there. Then you're like, okay, if we go back, we got to hit Sunrise. And sunrise at 5 o'clock or like 9 o'clock, you don't want to hit those
Well,
streets. And
terrible.
so, there's just not a really good way to move around. And this thing is going to be nice. I mean, hop on an expressway. You're going to Folsom, big shopping center, big Palladio, all that stuff. Or you hop on it, you go to Elk Grove, or if you're someone who needs to go to the Bay Area or the Amtrak station, you're like right there. It's nice to see that, like, also, like what you mentioned about the 50, that you guys are on some sort of a timeline. You're like, we're not going to sit around and this isn't going to be one of those projects where 30 years are going to say, like, where is it? It's going to keep going. We keep hearing about it. When's it ever going to happen? It seems like you guys got a little pedal to the metal on this thing, huh?
Well, we're young and nimble on what we do. We're not the state agency. And so there's some pros and cons to that, right? So, I mean, the state has deep pockets and they can afford like 6 years of construction on Highway 50 for the tune of $500 million or more, right? Like they just have so much money. And so the con of not being a state route is that we don't get those big pockets of money. But the pro is that we can move so much faster. And a couple of years ago, when we had the pandemic and all of that, we expedited our project. And like, if there's one way to compare and contrast things, we closed Camera Road and expedited construction. We had that whole project reconstructed 3 miles in 9 months. Okay. So why wasn't the state closing Highway 50 with more lanes or something and helping us to expedite things?
No, I don't know. I mean, honestly, they might wanna bring you onto the 50 project. That that might be nice to kinda get that done. So let me ask you, I have a few questions. Okay, so number 1 is, the connector gets done, is it gonna be a toll road?
Right now, it will not be. Well, I mean, I guess that could change, but there are no plans for it to be a toll road.
Okay, because for me, the funny thing is, because now and again, I'll make that trip to the Bay Area, which I don't really like making, but all of a sudden I see all these fast track kind of future, it's coming, it's coming. So I was kind of curious about the connector too, as far as like if it was going to be a toll road or whatnot, because you see that in the Bay Area all the time, and it's funny because a lot of people coming in from the Bay go like, there's no tolls. I'm like, I know, yet another benefit of living in the Sacramento area. But it always makes me wonder, like, for how long? How long is that going to be until we see it? So it's nice to know the connector doesn't have any plans for it right now. As
Well,
far as
well, I was
go
let
for
me
it.
just say that the toll lanes are coming, and they're coming to the causeway. So the federal government gave Sacramento $80 million, and then the state matched it with like another 100 million, and that's to build toll lanes across the causeway. And that's not an idea; it's not a plan. They're building, and so that's happening. And um, maybe there'll be toll lanes into Sacramento 2 or 3 years, but it is certainly on its way. And the first proposal was to toll the entire causeway. I think now they've just settled on only tolling one lane. So the Bay Area toll lanes are coming to Sacramento. They're just coming across the causeway and then they'll go from there. But as for the connector, as of this moment, no, we have never considered toll lanes for the project. It doesn't mean it can't happen in the future, but that's not what we're currently doing.
Now, so let me ask you something too. Like, one of the things I talk to people a lot about, we work with a lot of people who are looking to buy land and build custom homes. All of a sudden, you're building this connector, right? It's going to be hugely like something that's going to be just completely valuable to our area. Do you see a lot of people, developers buying pieces of land along where, you're building the connector? I mean, like for me,
Oh,
if I'm doing some
yeah.
commercial stuff or I'm thinking of a gas station or something, I'm thinking to myself, like that land right there next to the connector could be worth a whole lot of money in the future, don't you think?
So I would tell you there was probably a little bit of a gold rush about 20 years ago. Uh, yeah, I think today um, those type of opportunities have been largely bought up. But you're absolutely correct that um, infrastructure makes land development more easy, accommodating, right? I would say the same thing about a reservoir, right? And or levees, that if you really want to understand Natomas and what's going on out there in that area of Sacramento, um, once they improved those levees and got that farmland mapped out of the floodplain, it was like game on for housing, because what a levee will do, what a floodplain will do, I mean, is that a floodplain will restrict building. There'll actually be a building moratorium because of properties in a floodplain. So there's never been a building moratorium because of a road. But you're kind of understanding it's like, yeah, if you have a brand new reservoir and a power plant and a highway, land around there is going to be a little bit more developed. Along our project, there are some really large developments that have been in the works for decades that are coming in. I mean, everything south of 50 and Highway Folsom, that's a great example. I want to say that's like 3,500 acres. Rancho Cordova, Sun Creek, Sun Ridge, Anatolia. Uh, Probably another 1,000 to 2,000 acres. On the other side of Rancho Cordova in Sacramento County, there's a development called Cordova Hills, which has now been called Braden, and they have a website, Braden. And, they're trying to get up and running. Um, and certain as you head down the alignment, and you start to get into these, what we call spheres of influence, right? Where a city wants to uh, slowly expand, right? They don't really like uh, what I would call like leapfrog development, where you kind of want things to move incrementally out, and so that's you're seeing more and more of that in along the alignment for sure. But for the most part, I think the big dollar land developers were aware of this project, especially when the funding was passed by voters back in 2004. That was like the major green light because that when voters approved the project in 2004, we started getting our funding in 2009. So what is that? 15 years. So that was really the major green light because you're signaling to the economy of the region how popular this infrastructure is, right? So 75% of the people voted yes in 2004 to build this thing. And it was the only project that was specifically called out and earmarked in that tax measure. So I don't know. That's just if you know some people looking to buy some land, happy to connect with them. No problem. No problem.
Okay, but here's the thing also too for me. Like I keep telling people, like a lot of people are like looking at different areas to buy houses, of course. Everyone's thinking of where am I buying? What's a good place, bang for your buck. For me, I've often said on this channel, I'm like, I like the Anatolia, the Rancho area right there. I think new home building, you have a lot of competition, which makes everything competitive. Incentives are great over there too. You got Braden coming in, you got his proximity to Folsom, but also something that's, the one of the biggest things probably is the connector, is the fact that in a little bit, whenever that is, like the connector is going to be basically right there. So you're going to have a straight shot pretty much to Folsom, straight shot to Elk Grove. I mean, like that right there. I mean, think about that impact on just that area alone, where you say, like, I don't have to drive all the way down Sunrise, to get to a freeway, or I don't have to go down Bradshaw or, whatnot to get to Elk Grove. Like I got this like expressway that we can just hop on and go. I mean, for me, I think to myself, like, if you're thinking about buying a, a house and you're thinking to yourself, like, if I go to Folsom, what, 800, if I go to like El Dorado Hills, like a mill, if I go to like, like other spots, it's a lot. But if I go to Rancho, I can get myself a house for like, I don't know, like 500 brand new, something like 550, like, and you got this expressway coming. I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, what do you think that's going to do for home prices and just location wise? You know what I mean?
Rancho's a great city. It's an all America city. It's an all America city. And so our board meetings are there. We have them at city council, right? And so I'm very familiar with, the governance of city of Rancho Cordova. They've it sounds silly, but I know like some of their infrastructure contracts, right? Like they have a good garbage collection and uh for Philly's things. But I think that anyone looking to buy is um, we're gonna have brand new infrastructure along these roadways. And if you want to get to Tahoe faster, the connector will help you do that.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's. I know we mentioned it during the interview, but I want to ask you, like, what is your estimate guess for when do you think it'll be? I know you already mentioned it. It'll be. You think that this project should be completed?
Yeah, I mean, so the 9 miles that we're working on now, we're trying to get those to construction in the next 2 to 3 years. Okay.
Okay.
So the next chunk, I have to push that out probably to 10 years, right? It's gonna be a while because we're active on our project right now. And I think that we'll have 9 miles out to construction in 2 to 3 years. Certainly, I think Grant Line Road in 2 years. That's how soon Grant Line will be. So there's a lot to do, a lot of utilities, a lot of drainage, but this is what we do. We are a project delivery agency. I am a civil engineer. Staff here is my lead civil engineers next door. We have a big consulting group of engineers that are in the Folsom area, for example. A lot of local team members, and it's our focus to get this stuff out. And we report to a board of directors who also wants to see this money get spent. We want to see the shovels turn in dirt. Our goal is always to get a project to be quote shovel ready. All right. And so what that means is that you are environmentally approved. It means you have your permits. It means you have your real estate, right? That the utility companies know where to go and they can relocate and, modernize their facilities. So that takes time. We've done all of the work. You can drive on it today. You can go drive on White Rock Road today and, you know, put the pedal to the metal, drive as fast as you want, but watch out for the cops. But it is designed as an expressway. It is designed expressway, and that work's coming to Grant Line. And so I was hoping that I would be all wrapped up with environmental documents throughout my career, but I still have some more to do. I still have some more work to do. But this is what we get paid to do.
But and also the connector isn't like a boat where it's like once it's ready, then you can use it. It's kind of like as the phases come out and the pieces come out, you can use it. So it'll be like eventually when it all connects, it'll be together. But like you mentioned, there's pieces of it as they come to completion, you'll be able to use it. So as you move on, it could be a long timeline for the entire project to get done. But like the 9 miles grant line, I mean, you'll be able to use all those things the second that's completed. So it's an interesting project. It will be completed eventually, but while it's on its path to being completion, you will definitely see progress. It'll be a lot faster to get from point A to point B, correct?
Yeah, they didn't build I-5 from LA to San Francisco all at once either. You do have to kind of sequence these things. We have completed projects, right? If you come into my office, you'll see all the photos of interchanges and railroad grade separations and expressway segments that we built. Folsom is a great example, right? If you go out to the south of 50, you can see the Capital Southeast Connector fully constructed. It'll be from East Bidwell Street. We go all the way to White Rock. I want to say it's a total of 5 or 6 miles, right? So that's done. Go drive on it today.
So, okay, so for anyone watching this video, if they want to learn a little bit about the progress or what you're doing right now or any other media or information about it, where can they go to connect with you and your team?
So the best place is our website, connectorjpa.com. I'm on Instagram, Derek Minnema. I'm on Twitter or X, Derek Minnema on X. But our website, connectorjpa.com, it's got it all. Every once in a while, we do project podcasts where I sit down with my engineer and kind of talk about the things that are happening. That's on Spotify. So I'll send you all the links. But if anyone wants to pay attention to our projects, sign up for our projects email blast, connectorjpa.com. That's the place to go.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for that insight. And like I said, I think this is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest projects happening in Sacramento that's so overdue. So thank you for taking the time and go over some of these fun details and some of the questions I had specifically for you about this project. I appreciate it.
I will be back anytime you want to have me, my friend.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. If you did enjoy it, please smash that like button. It would mean a lot to me and the YouTube algorithm. Also, what do you think about this connector project? Do you think it'll be a game changer for the Sacramento area? I want to know what you think in the comments below, and so does everybody else who's watching this video. Your comments are very important, and we'd love to see them down below. Now, guys, we are a real estate team in the area. If you are thinking about making the move to Sacramento, we would love to talk to you, educate you on the area, plan a great tour for you, and tell you why Sacramento could be that next stop for you. It's an amazing spot to live. Also, if you are someone who's thinking about selling your home in the Sacramento area, don't settle for those posts in the ground, cross your finger, realtors. Guys, we market on social media and we get more eyeballs on your home than any other team in the area, and we'd love to work with you. Now, one last thing before I go, there's a playlist right over there of other videos I've done in the Sacramento area. Education is power. Watch these videos. It'll help you to understand why Sacramento is one of the top spots in all the nation that people absolutely love and they're thinking about moving into. Okay, guys, until the next video, this is Mark. Have a good one.